Hi guys, Gilly Hunt here with a rather pretty little Scandinavian style card for you today. I'm hoping you're going to love it. We're using the scalloped lace trim and the perfectly plaid photopolymer stamp set. Okay, and given that this is what we're trying to achieve, I'm first of all going to give you the sizes for all the layers of the card. Okay. So first of all, you're going to need a base card, and I start with a 10" by 7" and then I fold it in half, and that gives me a 3.5" by 5" card. And then I'm going to take two pieces of card, one in Whisper White and one in Crumb Cake, and this is the Crumb Cake to match the base. Now what I do, it's up to you how you do this, but I actually cut both. Although we want the crumb cake to be very fractionally smaller, I tend to cut both the same size. So I cut both of them to the larger size, which is 4" by 2 3/4 inches. And then I simply put this one back into my cutter and I just trim off a little slice off the edge and a slice off the top. And as long as I'm watching carefully that slice as I do it, and I'm judging them by eye to be the same, it's amazing how often it comes out right. So that's how I do it. I do it by eye, not by measurement. I can slip when I'm measuring by a couple of centimetres, or even millimetres, sorry, not centimetres. I do tend to be within a centimetre, but I can slip by a couple of millimetres, couple of 1/8 of an inch, whereas if I'm just taking a little slither off the top and the bottom, it seems to work very well. But if you're the sort that likes to measure everything, then take 1/8 of an inch off the side and the top, and that will give you the same result. Okay, so there's our base. And we're going to just keep hold of the central piece, which is the crumb cake card. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp our greeting. And we're going to use crumb cake ink, and we're going to use one of my absolute favourites, and that's one of the Itty Bitty stamp sets. The Itty Bitty stamp set is worth having, I think, now, forever and ever and ever. Even if you've done all your Christmas cards by now, even if you're totally finished, this is worth buying, because actually it has every little tiny phrase you might ever want. Thinking of you at Christmas, season's greetings, blessed Christmas wishes, lots of love at Christmas, happy Christmas, and a lovely happy Christmas too, Christmas cheer, and so on and so on. Merry Christmas, a happy new year, all the sayings you'd ever want. So you'll be absolutely set up for the rest of your days with this set. Perfect. And we're going to use the season's greetings, and all I'm going to do is use crumb cake ink, so it's the same colour ink as the card, because what I do want, let's make sure I get it up the right way, what I do want is I want this not to really stand out. I simply want the greeting to be a part of the card, but not the part that we notice first of all. So just by having it the same colour, it kind of fades into the background, but it is there, and it is rather a lovely greeting. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the tree. And the tree, I don't know whether you noticed, but when I showed you the sample here, the tree is actually embossed. It's a lovely shiny glossy surface, which is very slightly raised. If you put your hand over it, it's very slightly raised. Okay, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take an embossing buddy. We're going to take some embossing powder. Let me take the top off and see if I can try not to spill it everywhere. And we're going to take some Versamark, which is a type of stamp pad. It watermarks things, and it also has a sort of sticky substance. It's not an ink as such, but it's a sticky surface, almost glue-like, but it doesn't actually stick like a glue. So first of all, we're going to use the embossing buddy, and this is a little bag full of, I don't even know what, I ought to find out, I will one day. It's a chalky substance, In the old days we used to fill our tights with flour, or we used to put in tailor's chalk, or crush up bits of school chalk and put them in and use that. The aim of it is to make sure that there's no static on the card and that there's no greasy finger marks that's going to attract the powder, because when we put the powder on we only want it to stick where the Versamark is used. So in comes our lovely little tree, and you can hear it going squelch, squelch, squelch. Can you hear the squelch? Okay, so it's really tacky stuff. And we're going to just place this in the middle in the same way as you would any other stamp. Okay, and we're just going to give it a, oops, that's a bit wobbly, let's hope that didn't affect it. Just the same way as you would any other stamp, you're just going to give it a little bit of pressure and hold it to the page. Let's put the lid on, keep it nice and juicy. And now we're going to bring it to the powder. And in the powder I've got a piece of card, so what I can do is I can just use it as a scoop. Okay, and we're just going to cover the card, absolutely totally cover it, and then we're just going to flick it and knock off all the excess powder from around the edges. And what happens is, let me show you, that the powder sticks to all the sticky tacky Versamark. So it was this Versamark that we've used, and that stickiness just holds onto the powder. Now you can make hundreds of cards and you can leave these all lined up on your table if you want, and then heat gun them all at the same time. But until they've been heat gunned, these are going to be slightly delicate to touch, because as soon as you start to touch them it will knock the powder off. It's not going to fall off, okay, but if you were to brush against it it would start to bring the powder off. So now we're going to bring in a heat gun. Okay, and this is a heat tool which gives you an enormous amount of heat when I switch it on. It's a little bit noisy, so forgive me if I'm having to shout over the top. We have to watch our fingers, so I'm just going to bring in a pair of tweezers and just hang on to the corner with the tweezers, save me catching my fingers. Now I'm going to start by heating up the gun itself, so I'm not going to put it over the card, I'm just going to put it in the area and just let it heat up just a tiny bit first. Because what we want to do is we want to allow this to melt reasonably quickly. The quicker it does it, the sooner we manage to not curl the card. If you take a long time, the card will start to curl. Okay, so we're going to, now it's heated up a little bit, we're going to start at one end, and you should see it start to go white. Can you see? It's starting to go whiter and whiter and whiter. And we're going to make sure we go to the ends of each of the branches. And we're just going to go up through the tree to the top, make sure the top is totally done. Okay, you'll notice that I didn't wave it about like bonkers. Sometimes I've seen people doing this and they're rushing about with the heat gun all over the place, but all that happens then is that the paper has time to cool down and you don't get a nice glossy finish. So there we go, nice glossy finish. There's our heat gunned tree. And now what do we need? Oh, I know. We need a pretty to go on the very top. And these are the prettiest of prettiest of pretties. They are sequins and snowflakes and silver and very slightly pink and white snowflakes and stars. Absolutely gorgeous. And I just want a little snowflake to go on the top. So I'm going to put the tiniest dot of glue, and I'm going to pick up one of the sequins, one of the snowflakes, sorry, and pop it on the top. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I love these. I could use these for everything. Okay, there we go. And now all we've got to do is to put the rest of the card together. So I'm going to bring back the base and I'm going to bring back the white. And the white we now need, if you go back to the original, here's what we're trying to make, needs these lovely little scallops of lace attaching. So let's just work with the white then. And this is the lace, and I've cut it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scallops along. So each piece is 5 scallops along. And I'm just going to take a piece of tear tape, and I'm going to do it on the block actually because it saves it sticking to the paper. And I'm just going to stick it like that so that we get the bottom. I've made it just a tiny bit too long because it's much easier just to trim it neatly rather than trying to make sure it fits exactly. Okay, and so now we're going to take each of these scallops, I've done this one already, and we're going to take the tear tape off. And we're going to place this on, oops, if it'll let go, we're going to place this on the bottom of the card. Okay, and we're going to do the same on the other end. Okay, oh, sticky, 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 sticky. We're going to put that on the other end. And then when we turn it over, what we've got, oh, we haven't because that one's gone over the edge. Let's just reposition that a tiny bit. There you go, real time, it's warts and all. This isn't liking coming off. There we go. That's going to be better, but I've also got now a tiny little piece that's just sticking up, so I'm going to trim it. Come back. There we go. That's better. And now all we have to do is we stick this onto that with some glue, but I'm not going to do it because you don't want to watch me just glue things. Wet glue on the back of there and onto that, and that way we end up with this lovely card. Okay, there you go. Hope you've enjoyed that. Have a go yourselves. Thanks very much. Bye bye.